Today we are going to transform your dog from a regular dog to a dapper dog with a bow tie, and this is going to take you about 10 minutes or less. It is so simple. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the medium size because it is the most commonly used dog. I can't even say that without laughing. This is the most commonly used dog bow tie size, so that's the size we're going to make today. In my Etsy shop, you can find written directions that includes extra large, large, medium, small, and extra small. Extra small cracks me up. I will say it's a little hard to get that elastic on there to go on this, but I do know that I also have people with little dogs and cats that are always like, how do I do it tiny, tiny, Tara? So I got a little tiny collar and I made it work. So basically these have elastic on the back and they go right over your dog's collar. When I was deciding how to do this, I decided that I wanted to do it as simply as possible with materials that most people will probably have hanging around. Obviously, if you have a dog, you're going to have a dog collar. So our main bow fabric is 10.5 by 6.5. And then we need a piece of fleece that is 5 inches by 3 inches. Then we're going to need a piece that is 2 inches by 3.5 inches. That's the part that's going to wrap around here. And then 2 pieces of elastic, 1.5 inches long each. You can use 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch, whatever you happen to have. And then I decided to try tying it with embroidery floss because I had that around. Then it doesn't add any bulk to your bow tie. If you don't have that, you can use string jute hanging around. You can use that as well. I just decided I liked this better because it's thinner and it's not going to add bulk under this. So let's get started. There's a lot of ironing involved in putting these together. And one thing that I did want to mention is if you're going to be making a bunch, maybe you have a whole gaggle of dogs or you're making them for a rescue or you're making them to sell, you can use bias tape makers to make these strips that go around the center of the bow and then just cut them to size. That would save you quite a bit of time, but we're just making one, so I just cut that to size. But I just wanted to let you know that that is an option. We'll keep that bow up there. So let's work on the bow section first. We're gonna put it wrong side down. We're just gonna fold that in half, give that a little iron. Now we're just going to fold the raw edges into that center fold and press. You know I love my clapper, partly because it makes a nice crease and also because it takes some of the heat out of the fabric because I do burn my hands a lot on this little project. Now we're going to turn it the opposite way. We're going to fold it in half. I'm going to press that. Now we're going to fold these raw edges into the center. So that's going to be the part that we pinch and make a bow. But first we want to put that fusible fleece inside. So I'm going to open it up and I don't know if you can see the crease marks that makes the center. We're going to put this fusible side down, and it's cut slightly smaller than this is ironed, but that's fine. This is just going to give your bow tie a little bit of body and help it hold its shape. So I'm just going to fold it back up like we're wrapping that fusible fleece in there like a present. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to iron from this side because this is the side that the material for the fusible fleece is on, and it's going to stick a lot better if we put the heat on that side instead of trying to do it through 4 layers of fabric and the fleece. The next step, we're going to open this up. So this is the back, right? This is the front. And we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we are going to sew on these bits of elastic. Now, the thing to remember is the folds here, that is the edges of the bow. So the closer you put this elastic to that fold, the closer to the edge of the bow that elastic is going to be. So on the tiny ones, you really do have to be pretty close because there's just not a lot of distance, right? So it's like that. But for bigger ones, I would put it closer in, so closer to the raw edges, so that it's not going to pull as much. And it's, that's going to be plenty of distance on the collar for that to hold on nicely. But before we go to the sewing machine, we're going to press this, getting that center crease, and then putting both of these edges into the center. Now, I have seen people use little fusible web tape. And of course, when I decided I wanted to do this one night at 11 o'clock, I was like, well, I don't have that. So I asked myself, do I have to have it? And I told myself no. I talk to myself a lot. I assume you probably do too. Just tell me you do if you don't. So instead of having a tape that helps hold that down, I decided to add stitching on either side. And I think it just looks cute. It looks more decorative. You don't even have to do it because you're going to be hand stitching that, so it's going to stay folded together. But I kind of liked the look of it. I thought it made it a little bit more dapper. So I will be doing that. But before I do that, I like to fold one end down about 1/4 inch so that we don't have a raw edge here when we sew that by hand together when we're done. Okay, now we will go to the sewing machine and we're very close to done. Now I'm centering my elastic from the long sides and I'm putting it a bit closer to the raw edge than this folded edge. And I'm just going to tack down both sides by going forward, back, forward, back. That should give it enough security and about 1/4 inch or less from the edge of the elastic. I'm also using a pretty small stitch length, like a 1.8, just because it's a very small piece of elastic and we want to make sure it's got enough stitches to stay. Then I'm going to repeat that on the other side, about the same distance from that raw edge as the first one. Trim the threads off the elastic. Now I'm going to turn it to the back again, refold that to the center. Now I am going to sew up this way, across, and down this way, just to tack these together. That was going to be under the part that is cinched. I've seen people do different things. They've done a zigzag, they've not sewn it, they've glued it, they've made a tube. I have decided that I want these to be quick and easy projects. I don't want to turn tubes. I don't want to have to change my needle to do zigzag if I don't have to, but you do have to on that itty bitty baby one. It won't stay together doing it this way. I tried. But for all these other ones, this has worked like a charm. So that just stitched these two pieces down. You can see it on the front, but that will be covered by the little strip like this that we are going to put on there. So now I have this folded at the end and I'm just going to sew down this strip. And actually, I just thought of this time-saving tip. We don't have to do 2 separate rows. We can just turn, sew across, and come down the other side. So sometimes when you're coming back, the part you folded isn't staying underneath. So you just want to push that under with scissors or a stiletto so that it's not going to be sticking out on your end project. So I just push that under with my finger and the scissors, and then I'll just hold it with the scissors so I don't sew my finger, and then we will call that good. We're going to take the big part, make sure you have all of the threads cut off. We have the elastic on the back. We're going to fold it in half. So the elastic's out, and then you're going to fold in the center each side down until it meets that first fold. So that's the first fold where it's folded in half. Then just bring that down and bring that down. So that is the center, and we know it's the center because it's also where we stitched that fabric together. The next thing we need to do is we need to tie this closed so it holds its shape, which can be difficult if you are on your own. And I kept wanting to use my teeth, and I kept hearing my mother say, I paid too much money for orthodontics. Do not use your teeth as a tool. So I came up with another plan. You can just take little fabric clips and clip that together. And then this is not any specific length, but I'm just going to wrap it in the center, and I just wrapped it around like 3 times. I don't know why. Just to make sure it's good and secure. And then I'm just going to tie that in a knot, and I want the knot on the back, the side where the elastic is. I guess it really doesn't matter because it won't show, but that's just what I do. Those do get in your way a little bit when you're tying. So once you get that first knot in, you can take them off. I mean, really, you could just leave it like that if you wanted it to be simple, but we're looking for a more dapper dog than that. So I'm going to trim those ends. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around. You want the area that you're going to hand stitch to be in the back. So you have to adjust to make sure that part lands in the back. By adjust, I mean just keep pulling the raw edge forward and wrapping that until when you're wrapping this, it ends up right on the top of the back, so it's not going to show. And then I just shove a pin in there, and then you're just going to take a needle and thread and do a little quick stitch to close that up, and it is ready to go. So let me know in the comments who you are going to make these for. Are you going to make these for one of your dogs? Are you going to make these to sew and sell, to gift, for rescue dog, adoption days? So many fun ways that you can use these. And then be sure to check my YouTube channel. I've got lots of other ideas for sewing for dogs as well.